So we're just about finished talking about the .NET Core proper. In this video, I'll talk about the roadmap that Microsoft has published for .NET Core and talk about next steps here on Developer University. As I said early on in the course, there are workloads that you'll wind up relying on when building .NET Core-based applications. Obviously, the one that's baked into .NET Core proper are console window applications, terminal-style applications, all right? But I probably am guessing that the most popular will be ASP.NET MVC Core 1.0. Apparently, as I said early on, there are other workloads like Universal Windows Platform and Xamarin.Forms. I'm not entirely sure how those are going to be manifested and where they're at. I'm not as familiar with those frameworks, but those are definitely on the roadmap as far as Microsoft is concerned to get some parity so that you can build .NET Core applications that target those platforms as well. So in the coming weeks and months, my personal focus will be the Entity Core Entity Framework Core 1.1, and then ASP.NET Core and MVC 1.0, since I believe that these two will be the primary way that people utilize the .NET Core 1.0. Now, perhaps in upcoming versions of .NET Core, there will be more parity, again, with other workloads, like we just said a moment ago, that are supported by the full legacy .NET framework, like Windows Forms, like Windows Presentation Foundation, and so on. But that's not the case as I record that today. So fortunately, Microsoft has published some idea of what's coming in the official version of the .NET Core roadmap. You can find it here at the URL on screen. And then there's a more, I guess you could say, consumable blog-like post version of it here at this URL on screen on the .NET blogs. But it looks like, first of all, there's going to be, there's a provision for a patch build. They're saying sometime in August, so this will be 1.0.1, just to fix up any little bugs that are outstanding. And then later on in 2016, and I see that they're kind of hedging here with quarter one 2017, giving themselves a little bit of a buffer. They're introducing .NET Core 1.1, which is planned to bring, first of all, broader API support. Again, the goal to bring parity with the .NET framework and Mono at the base class library level. Then there's the transition back from project.json to CSproj and MS Build as the default build system and project model for all versions of .NET. Then the tooling, the command line interface, as well as the Visual Studio tooling should be RTM quality with version 1.1 of the .NET Core runtime, again in the fall 2016, early 2017 timeframe. They're going to target the ARM 32 and 64-bit platforms. They'll add languages, F# and VB, so you can build .NET Core applications using those languages. And they're also trying to create more support for Linux distributions outside of the ones that they started with. So there will be some planned ASP.NET Core and MVC updates as well, but I'm going to address those in that particular course when we get into that. And beyond 2017, as you scroll through and you look at some of the other work that they're doing here, it looks like they're going to aim to bring back many of the missing APIs in the .NET Core, including networking and serialization and data and so on. And there's going to be more work on the .NET Standard 2.0, which will result in APIs being consistent across the .NET Framework, the .NET Core, Xamarin, and so on, so that you can write code that will run on all the major .NET platforms as long as you target the .NET Standard 2.0. And so that's pretty much it. My hope is now that you're going to have a pretty good idea of what .NET Core is, what its goals are, how it works, and most of all, that it's not really scary or mysterious. In fact, there's much that mirrors what we already know about the legacy .NET framework. So the learning curve is actually pretty minimal with a few exceptions here and there. And while I've kept the entire course at a very basic level, you should now be able to dive deeper into some of the more advanced concepts, like creating your own portable libraries targeted at the .NET Standard 1.0, as well as workloads that I mentioned earlier, including ASP.NET MVC Core 1.0 and Entity Framework Core. And my recommendation is that you watch those courses as I complete them so that you can decide if you want to use them for any new greenfield application development projects that are coming up in your near future. So I hope you enjoyed this series. Thank you.